There's a story you should know from 100 years ago, and 100 years we've waited now to tell. Now the Yankees come along and they'll listen to this song, and they'll quake in fear to hear this rebel yell.
And they'll quake in fear to hear this rebel yell. Yeah! Oh, the South's gonna rise again. Yeah! Oh, the South's gonna rise again.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Grindbin. I'm Mike Wood.
And I'm Bobby Tribbett.
And today we're going to be talking about 1964's 2000 Maniacs.
And I didn't even get my candy.
Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Dad, I made the tea. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
What is it, knocker?
I don't know. Spooky got no real rhythm.
Hello, Mr. Man.
We're gonna play a little game, baby.
I just love funny games. Get a little girl all hot and horny.
This is Los Angeles.
How the hell does women live? I'm horny. And maybe Daddy wouldn't have had to kill himself because he couldn't get it up anymore. What a shame.
It's for jacking off.
Come on, just step on the gas before we get cream.
So, Bobby, it's just you and I again.
Oh, no.
Here at the bin. Saw superfan Chris Mann has taken a leave of absence for this episode. He's trying to fit in. He's going for the world record, I hear, of most Saw watches. Like the most Saw watches in a week, I believe. He's watching his Saw sixology or whatever it is.
And once again, he's missed out on a movie that was eerily reminiscent of Saw.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the origin of Saw and the origin of a lot of other type of movies. Like, as we always talk about, probably the most famous Grindhouse movie there is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And there'd probably be no Texas Chainsaw Massacre if there wasn't H.G. Lewis's 2000 Maniacs.
Oh, 100%. 100%. This kicked off so many things, this movie. Not only gore films. This was the second ever gore movie after his own movie Blood Feast. But also kind of really hitting overdrive on Hicksploitation.
Yeah, I would say this is basically your origins for it, which he went on to do not just like gore films with Hicksploitation. He would do other movies, which, full disclosure, we should get into it now. We were provided a free copy of this movie by Arrow Video and the people over at MVD. They sent us the Blu-ray for 2000 Maniacs. So just full disclosure, we're going off a free Blu-ray we received. If you want to purchase the Blu-ray, you can find it on MVD's site, or you can find it anywhere they sell it. But
Absolutely. They're selling it as
there.
a special edition Blu-ray on its own, or earlier in the last few months, they put out the Herschel Gordon Lewis Feast box set,
which you own,
which I do own proudly, and it comes in the form of a giant cereal box with Herschel Gordon Lewis on the front,
and it has all the gore films, I believe.
Oh, good lord! How many movies was that? There's a lot in there. It's pretty much his catalog. It's the Herschel Gordon Lewis anthology.
38 movies.
Well, it's not 38 of them for sure, but it's all the significant ones. It's the greatest hits.
Yes, but there are hidden movies on it. Like this Blu-ray, I didn't know, actually has a second movie on it, which is Moonshine Mountain, which was made directly after this movie and has some of the same people in it. That movie is like a Hicksploitation, but without the gore. So I didn't watch it, but it's on there. I guess they've pieced it together kind of like they've pieced together this one and restored it the best they could. But that's also on the Blu-ray. So if you want to see one of Herschel's non-gore films and more like straight up Hicksploitation, kind of early White Lightning type of movie, Moonshine Mountain's on there. Have you seen any of his like non-gore films?
No, I haven't actually. I've only watched the gore ones.
Yeah, I haven't even seen any of those. I should watch that one and check it out, though.
Well, we both have it now.
Yeah, we do. So thank you for the people.
Thanks to our friends at Arrow.
Over at Arrow Video and MVD for sending us these free copies.
So let's talk about how this one came to be. So Herschel does Blood Feast. That's the one that puts him on the map. It's the first ever splatter film, which is an interesting approach that he had, because he got tired of doing all these skin flicks, all these nudie movies, as he called them. He and his partner David Freeman, and he was like, what can we exploit now? What isn't really being done right now? And he thought back to Roman gladiators. People would gather around to watch people get eaten by lions, the Grand Guignol in France. He's like, you know what people want to watch? Human beings getting fucked up. Just painting the walls with it. Why don't we do that? And so he and David Freeman worked together. They threw together Blood Feast in, I think it was like 5 days.
Yeah, very bad effects.
It was awful.
But just, get that ketchup out.
Great business, though. And he was right. You know, he took that gamble, and they were like, "Yeah, it worked." You know, everybody wanted to see that. So he was talking to David afterwards. He went, "What if we did that, but we did it good? Like, what if we actually tried?"
Yeah, and on the special features for this Blu-ray, there's interviews with him, and there's an introduction before the movie, and he says, "We're going to make a good one. However, Blood Feast isn't good. It's a movie. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end."
He once said about Blood Feast that it's like a Walt Whitman poem. It's not any good, but it's the first of its kind.
But this movie, see, now you said it was kind of a gamble. Not really, exactly, because the amount of money they would spend to make a movie was so low, and Herschel was not like a native filmmaker. He was a marketer by trade, and we've talked about this in our Gorgor Girls episode.
Yeah.
But he says something in one of the extra features on the Blu-ray that I thought was really interesting, and he says, as a marketer, he looks at these movies that come out today and he laughs to himself about these movies that bomb, because he goes, it doesn't matter, again, what's in them, but how they market them and how they're just so inept on the basic ideals of what people want. And he says, in terms of when I would market products, the idea is when somebody looks at your marketing materials, they need to leave with the idea of, I need to buy that. I need to buy that. That's the bottom line. That's it. Nothing else. Don't confuse them with anything else, with gibberish, whatever it is. You know, you watch all these car commercials and they're just going on and on. It's like, well, why the fuck do I care? You either want the car or you don't. You know,
Right.
Why do I need your car? I don't care if I can drive over mountains, all this shit. Like, tell me why I need it. So he says with movies, it doesn't matter how the movie is, right, in terms of as a whole product. What matters is you got to see this. That's the bottom line. And he says when you don't have any money and you're making a movie and you want people to go see it, how do you do that? Word of mouth. And the way you get word of mouth is you have to get people to say to their friends, you got to see this.
Absolutely.
So with 2000 Maniacs, you throw in this crazy violence, and instantly, no matter if the movie's good or not, it's memorable to the point where people go back to their friends and are like, you got to see the craziest shit I've ever seen. Then they go buy a ticket. Then more people go buy tickets. And then a movie you spent $65,000 on ends up being hugely profitable, and you make an entire career out of making movies by just having people say to one another, you got to go see this.
And that's one of the things I've appreciated about Herschel Gordon Lewis is his utter lack of fuck around.
No, it's all a business to him. That's the thing that I think people would be disappointed with if you ever hear him talk. Like, he has no, like, I guess, real personal passion for like the movies he's making necessarily. It's more about like it's a business.
He's
and you
very
make money.
mercenary.
Yeah, it's
It's the same way Carpenter presents himself, though Carpenter is sort of a visionary and a genius despite himself. But he has the same approach. It's just like, whatever, man. I'm not here to talk about my creative vision about this.
Look, you can be a filmmaker that'll make one movie that nobody will go see because you wanted to make it for you and nobody else. Or you can be Herschel Gordon Lewis and make movies that people will go see because of their base instinct and seeing violence.
Hell yeah.
And tell their friends, you got to go see this guy, in a barrel roll. And it works. It sells. And they would hire him actually to do... He was talking about it briefly about how he'd be hired to do marketing for other movies. And go look at some of his posters. Because even his one for Moonshine Mountain, there's just certain things that he puts on him that... It looks stupid by today's standards. You'd be like, that would never sell. But back then, you're walking out of the theater, you see this, you're like, well, boy, that movie's got everything I want in it. It's got songs, it's got fighting, it's got lovemaking, it's got everything. Like, it just has it on the poster. It's like, we got everything in this movie. Come
Absolutely.
on, see it.
I mean, it's hard to look at things from that perspective. It was 60 years ago.
But now, it's like every poster is the same photoshopped image of everybody behind. Like, it's just like a big, like the Goodfellas box set. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Goodfellas poster, it's just been made over and over and over like 1,000 times on every poster now.
Oh, yeah. It's like the horror genre in the 90s.
Oh, it's just
every
the
poster
same
was
thing.
identical and interchangeable.
But then you go look at like the original Friday the 13th poster, and you see
Brilliant.
it. You see the outline of Jason, even though he's not in it, right? Like the outline of
some
the
man
killer,
holding
yeah.
a knife.
The outline of a killer with a knife in this cabin, and you're like, oh, what is this? It's intriguing.
And a lot of people have expressed that feeling, that sentiment of like wishing we can go back to that kind of poster art. And I want that, but I also want the 60s. I want the blood feasts. I want the 2000 Maniacs. I want big letters explaining to me.
Although I'd say that we're in a modern renaissance for horror movies, and there's a lot of good horror movies being made right now that are on the indie level, not necessarily like big releases, but there are good big releases.
I'd argue that big releases have swung back around too.
Yeah, because you got movies like Happy Death Day that were made for next to nothing, that marketed themselves very well. It was clear what you were going to see, very tongue-in-cheek.
And you got to respect that about those movies. Whether that movie is your thing or not, it knows what it is, and it doesn't lie to you about what it's trying to be.
Well, Blumhouse is very close to what H.G. Lewis was like, I'd say. He's like the modern-day H.G. Lewis in the terms of, like, they're going to put out a bunch of shit. They're going to put out some good movies, but their main focus is, you got to see this.
Yeah, and once in a while, it's going to ping. Once in a while, you're going to, a broken clock's right twice a day.
Hey, they made Get Out. Okay?
Exactly.
So, I mean, that movie was made for next to nothing. It was nominated for Academy Awards, so they know what they're doing over there.
Did they do A Quiet Place too?
They did not. I don't think they did Quiet Place.
Okay,
No,
okay.
I think that was actually a studio. They did that wonderful Truth or Dare movie, though, so it doesn't always work. But Truth or Dare made money, though.
That's one for them and one for no one.
Well, it still made money.
Because horror, man.
Yep. So this was made for $65,000. It was filmed in 14 days.
Which is huge compared to what he usually did. He usually kept it under a week.
And this one, they went all for it, and it worked. It was reportedly shot where Disney World is now.
Certain locations, is my understanding. And some of those locations you could still go visit now.
Yes, apparently there is still the downtown, which is in St. Cloud, Florida.
I've seen YouTube videos of a guy going back to where a lot of those scenes were shot, and it still kind of looks like that.
Wow. 2000 Maniacs, heavily cut by the MPAA before it came out.
How do you even put this before the MPAA?
I don't know why he would, to be honest. I mean, was it really... I mean, maybe because you can show it in certain theaters, with the R rating or whatever it is.
You got to think it's just because he'd know what they're going to say, and then he can brag about what they said.
That's true. Like, even if you get like an NC-17 or an X rating, you can just be like, hey,
Yeah,
now
because
it's
I understand
real
that this
crazy.
film got banned in certain states.
Yes,
Probably
it was...
southern ones, is my guess.
Actually, believe it or not, this movie apparently did well in southern states.
Oh, they embraced it?
Yes.
It became a matter of southern pride?
Yes, less like they were being made fun of and more like, yeah, it's fun.
Isn't that just like those stupid hicks? They don't even know when you're making fun of them.
Oh, boy.
Sorry, I'm from the north. I'm from Pennsylvania, much like Herschel Gordon Lewis.
The movie was formally released March 20th, 1964, mostly at drive-in theaters, especially in southern states, where it did considerably well. That's what it has. The first released on VHS by Continental Video in 1980s. It then received a VHS and DVD release by Something Weird Video, the late 1990s. And actually, this is the print that we're working with. It's the Something Weird cut, because this movie was never really meant to be seen past this theater.
Of course not.
And putting together the unedited version, the most original version you can see is, I guess, what we're going to see here.
Well, I mean, think about it. There was a 20-year gap before the home video market even happened.
Yes.
So most films, you got to assume, were just, forgotten.
Oh, yeah.
So many films are gone now because they didn't think to take care of them. They didn't know there was going to be VHS,
2000
Betamax.
Maniacs was never meant to be seen past the theater. They're like, this is, $65,000 and we're going to make it back with some run-ins and drive-ins and that's it. We forget about it.
They never thought there'd been, someone like Arrow would come along and do a 2K scan and,
Yeah, so Arrow is actually working with the Something Weird print, and they say it in the beginning of the film here, and that's why you'll see, if you watch the movie, there is some differences where it will switch to different formats and stuff because they're piecing it together from whatever they have.
And I always love that. I don't know, there's a charm to that where suddenly, you're watching a Blu-ray that's been cleaned up and remastered, to the nines, and there's a hair on the screen.
Yeah,
squiggling, because that's all you can do.
Well, and I mean, I'm assuming this was filmed in 16 millimeter.
No, he shot all of his films in 35.
35. Whoa.
Yeah, he never once did 16.
Man. Well, whatever they did, they cleaned up the print as well as they could because you're working with some pretty bad film stock. So it worked out. I mean, it's pretty good. It didn't bother me at all. But yeah, you definitely get pops and scratches and all sorts of artifacts on the screen. But that's just the print you're working with, which I'm sure was just, found at some drive-in at some point. And somebody was like, guess somebody will want this. And the people at Something Weird picked it up and turned it into a VHS and a DVD one day. So we don't need to talk about Herschel Gordon Lewis. He's a Grindbin all-star for the Gore Girls, which is one of his later movies we already covered, and Hughes loved that one. Dead member of the Grindbin, Chris Hughes, infamously loves Herschel Gordon Lewis.
Big fan. Go back and listen to it. He couldn't help himself but rave.
Yes, and Gore Girls was the reason we did that one is because it was a Patreon pick from one of our Patreon members who was wanting us to cover an H.G. Lewis movie and pick Gore Girls, which I think is a good one. So.
Oh, absolutely, and I won't be surprised if we cover several more of his films.
I'm sure we will. We got to break into that cereal box, you know. Connie Mason, now we're in the cast. Connie Mason, who plays Terry Adams, basically most known as a Playboy Playmate in 1963. When she was discovered by H.G. Lewis, and he put her in 2 movies, this and Blood Feast. She went on to be in various TV shows, small roles in movies, but would never return to these types of movies. She moved on. However,
you assume she didn't have a very good time?
Well, her husband, William Kerwin, who's credited as Thomas Wood in this movie, who plays Tom White, they're married, and they met on the set of Blood Feast.
Awesome.
And they got married, and they starred in this movie together. He went on to act in more H.G. Lewis stuff, and he's always the guy that does the intro on his trailers and all that sort of stuff. So he used the quote Thomas Wood, which... I mean, because this guy, okay, so he has 163 credits. Nothing that's really like stand out or something, but I mean, I guess he's in kind of more mainstream and TV and stuff, but I'm not sure the pseudonym from his other stage name, because it's like, does it really matter?
No.
I mean, I guess maybe... I don't understand why they'd be like, if I'm going to be in this shitty movie, I'm going to change my name and nobody will recognize my face or anything.
I think some people just do it for the fun of it. I mean, the guy who has 163 credits, you look at somebody like Joe D'Amato, he had like 12 pseudonyms that he operated under. And the idea behind that was that he didn't want to be shown as working too much. You want to be able to work as a cinematographer over here, and you don't want to oversaturate with your name. And maybe if he's got 163 acting credits, it's probably like people might be a little tired of seeing me.
That's the whole story behind Spielberg and Poltergeist. Is apparently he had to be producer and not director.
So he wouldn't be competing with himself?
Well, because he had already released E.T. that year.
Right.
And there was something with the Directors Guild where, like, you can't have 2 movies in 1 year. And so he's like, fine, I'm the producer on this one. And it's been confirmed, unfortunately, Tobe Hooper is no longer with us, but it's been confirmed that basically Spielberg directed that movie.
Yeah,
so.
We've talked about that on a previous episode.
Yeah. And the last person I have written down, because everybody else is basically an H.G. Lewis player, which is just, they kind of star in his movies and barely any others, is Jeffrey Allen, who is a famous H.G. Lewis player who plays Mayor Buckman in this movie. An actor mostly known for Lewis movies. This was his first, but then he went on to be in Moonshine Mountain.
My understanding was he was a stage performer.
Yeah, I think it was stage performer, and then
primarily a star of the stage. That H.G. Lewis was like, why don't you try being in a movie?
These are the type of guys he would get, though.
Yeah.
Because Gore Girls was filled with the same type of people, which is just stage actors that doesn't always translate to video.
No.
But he was also in Something Weird, This Stuff Will Kill Ya, and Year of the Yahoo, which are all Herschel Gordon Lewis movies I've never heard anything about except for Something Weird. So
I don't think I know Year of the Yahoo.
Year of the Yahoo. It was like some political drama or political comedy drama or something. It's a weird one.
What's also fun about this one, though, is the extras are all actual local townspeople, is my understanding.
Oh, that's what I've heard, yeah. And
which
then
you can kind of see in some of the more extreme scenes. You look in the background, and the extras are kind of like, what are we doing here?
I wasn't going to mention it, but the guy who plays Rufus is the only movie he's ever in. So I don't know if he was...
Yeah, I saw that on IMDb.
One of the townspeople as well. But the guy who plays Lester, the only other credit of note was he was the cop at the end of The Mutilator who gets mutilated. Which we've talked about is not a great movie, but has a great theme song. Before we get into it today, Bobby, let's take a listen to the trailer.
You're all invited to a centennial celebration. What they were celebrating wasn't important, and it sounded like a heap of fun until 2,000 maniacs, crazed for carnage, started bathing an entire town in pulsing human blood. You'll see 6 young strangers doomed to slaughter by an ancient curse.
There came an awful sound.
And from his lips there came an awful sound. Yeah!
Brutal, evil, ghastly beyond belief. You'll see the most diabolical device ever contrived, designed solely for assassination by a town of madmen, insane with bloodlust.
Stonewall took a gun and he made the Yankees run, but he
2,000 maniacs, gruesomely stained in blood color.
Old Stonewall said, I'm a-giving you a dying man's request.
I'm a-giving you a dying man's request. Yeah!
Starring Playboy's favorite playmate, Connie Mason.
Yeah! Oh, the South's gonna rise again.
So we get into the movie, that wonderful song playing at the beginning and the end of this episode. Oh, man. You gotta love it.
It's
South's
wonderful.
gonna rise again.
We're a pickin' and a grinnin'.
And Bobby, you have some information about this song.
I do. Fun thing I found out. I found this out listening to the commentary track on the Blu-ray. Is the lead singer of this song is Herschel Gordon Lewis himself. And I did a little digging on this, and apparently when he'd make appearances at conventions, sometimes he would sing the song.
Oh, wow.
By request. He's performed this song at cons when he was still alive. And the people in the background doing the yee-haw are the cast of 2000 Maniacs.
Oh, well, it's great. I mean, he's infamous for writing all his own music in his movies and stuff. And this movie has great music, and including this theme song.
It really sets the table for what we're about to do here.
So this movie starts with a guy at a tree. So Rufus is in a tree, and he's just your, everyday
Backwoods
stereotypical, backwoods yokel. He's just in that tree with a pair of binoculars looking for Yankee cars. So they're looking for Yankee plates, and when they spot one, he waves down to Lester, who will put a detour sign in the middle of the road.
Yeah, we're doing some Bugs Bunny shit.
And it works.
It absolutely does. Or you just wheel out the detour sign.
And so here's the thing. This detour sign does not look official at all. And it's like, I don't see any fucking construction or anything. I would just go right around it. I'm like, I'm not going down that dirt road to nowhere. No.
Oh, no, you're not getting cut up in a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie.
But as we find out, like, a lot of these Yankees, they're really dumb.
Right?
And I got to say that I feel like they don't have the right spirit. And like, I have to say, as the movie went on, I started to get more on the side of the townspeople. I'm like, yeah, come on, join in the fun, huh?
They're very endearing.
Yeah, I know. Like, I feel like the Yankees are being kind of sourpusses,
You find out the history of the town, you're like, you know what? Play on.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you find out the background, you're like, all right, well,
Well, you're not wrong.
they got a bone to pick.
I acknowledge your gripe, Southerners.
Oh, man. So, the South's going to rise again. That's what we know from the song and what's going on here, tracking down those Yankee plates. We know they're looking for Yankee plates because we see one drive through and they're like, nah, it's one of our
let
brethren.
that pitch sail by. We're going to wait.
He has the Stars and Bars license plate holder. So we go to the Centennial in Pleasant Valley.
Mm-hmm.
We got a big sign, one of the big props in this movie. The banner they had made up.
Half the budget went into this banner.
And everybody's getting their Confederate flag,
passing them out in town square.
And everybody's waving around. And then you get the great title that comes on screen. And we watch as basically during the title sequence, they pull in another Yankee car. Gotta get them. And that's when you find out Herschel wrote the song. It's in the credits, and I wrote in my notes. I was like, all right. Then I had a real fuck you, Bobby, because there's children playing with a cat and a noose, and apparently they hang a cat. And I was like, really? Is this another one of your tricks, huh, Bobby, for dogs? Our episode dogs? You're still mad about that, huh? You're going to find every movie where a cat gets murdered and make me watch it,
This one's not on me, man. This one's on our friends at Arrow.
Yeah,
I'm in cahoots.
I still think you somehow
made this happen.
as if you listen to our dogs episode, Bobby and Hughes were very upset with me because I said, well, the easy solution to rabid killer dogs is to just shoot them all.
And if you recall our Ice Cream Man episode, I had a real problem with a dog-related scene there, too.
So Bobby has made it his personal mission to find every movie where a cat gets killed on screen, including Future Kill, and now this movie.
You see, if a dog person and a cat person can come together on a podcast, there's hope for everybody.
And you know what's really interesting is that Chris Mann, resident Saw superfan of this show, and also a huge cat person, has missed both the cat-killing movies.
It's how we know he watches the films.
Yeah, that's how you really know.
Because, we get a sick call every time.
And by the way, I have a cat that looks exactly like this. And so it was very traumatic to see him hang that poor black cat.
Aw, I'm sorry, Mike.
But I did like how the cat had a sign around it that said "Damn Yankee" on it. That's when we first meet.
Big fan of the band.
What's his name? Bobby? Billy?
Billy.
The little kid?
Yeah, little Billy.
So then
he spends the majority of this film running around with a little noose.
Yeah, that's endearing.
Isn't that great?
So then we get another car. It drives up. Oh, that's when they let the one go. But then another car comes up. Oh, it's a winner. Another Yankee plate. Let him pull the red convertible.
Oh, we got a good one here.
So this is the thing, is there's a man and a lady in this car. So we get introduced to Tom and Mrs. Adams. And here's the thing. I got a lot of problems with the character of Tom, and I don't know if you do as well.
Let's go
I think there's multiple red flags with this dude. And I mean multiple.
Oh, there's a separate movie with this guy.
Okay, if the first thing I saw was like, she has apparently picked up this serial killer who is, quote, hitchhiking, and he says he's a school teacher, and he's going to a convention.
He's going to a school teachers convention in Atlanta, and his car broke down, and he just needs a ride.
Uh-huh. So he's going to a school teachers convention in Atlanta, and he's going to hitchhike his way there?
Well, because his car broke down, and he's got to get to that convention.
Uh-huh.
Don't mind this bag I'm going to go ahead and put in your trunk.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get to that later.
Exactly. So I was like, no, she's clearly picked up a serial killer. And I think that most of this movie, he's just trying to find a way where he's like, well, I don't want them to murder her. I want to murder her. And so the whole movie is basically him trying, like, putting on this ruse of, like, how am I going to get out of this?
And what really lends to that is his delivery is so Troy McClure.
Yes,
he's very. That's right, Billy, and everything that he says.
Yeah, and
I'm more than just a hitchhiker. I'm a school teacher.
Here's the thing: he has multiple points in this movie where he like becomes a con man, and he's a little too good at it.
Oh yeah,
where it's like you've done that before.
I'm kind of intrigued by this character.
I want a little bit more info about this quote school teachers convention in Atlanta that you have to get to so bad that your car broke down. You can't just say, you know what, now's not the time, okay?
You could have made your way to a phone and said, hey, I'm not going to make it to the convention.
Yeah, exactly. And also, what school teacher convention?
What do they do at these?
Like, okay, again, school teachers are hired by state, right?
So
They're
why
not
are you
national.
Going, why are you going out of state for a school teacher's convention?
Thank you, yeah.
Who's watching the school?
Like, where is he from? He's obviously from...
Well,
is he from the north?
He's got to be.
Right? He's one of them damn Yankees. So he's all the way down in the south to go to Atlanta. We'll just say he's from like Pittsburgh, where Lewis is from. So he's like a school teacher in Pittsburgh, and he's going to go all the way down to Atlanta for some, quote, school teacher convention, national school teacher convention. He's going to hitchhike his way down there. Sure, Tom. Sure.
You know, most people don't get to ask that many questions about it.
So we drive into Pleasant Valley. So basically he says like, all right, well, hey, I guess we got to take this detour, right? And he goes, she's like, oh, well, this seems really bad. And he's like, well, I'll drive. And she's like, no, that's
all right.
Sit on your
Guy
side.
I don't know.
Yeah. And there's all these times in this movie too where it's like, your boyfriend over there. She's like, I don't know him. I don't know him.
He's just some strange I picked up.
I got to say, I regret picking him up. But then they drive into Pleasant Valley, and that's when we see the sign that says town of 2,000 people. Wonder if they'll be the Maniacs, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a coincidence.
Yeah. So we get to the Centennial celebration. Now, I love this. This is when you get, like, the first thing of Mayor Buckman, real stage performer, because this guy is just freaking to the back row with every line.
He's a real Brian Doyle Murray.
He is redlining that mic every time he's talking. He's just screaming.
Well, because that's his training.
So they
being
run
a stage performer, you can't. He
yeah,
he doesn't know how to do it for the camera. He knows how to do it for the cheap seats.
And the other thing too is that like, so the way they filmed this scene is that they just clearly put the camera in some sort of like cherry picker or something, because everything is like 20 feet in the air and they're just pointed down, and they never change it. So you're just watching like a parade footage of people pulling in an all in wide shot.
Oh, you're getting the Lee Harvey Oswald view of the motorcade. For this entire scene.
And so Buckman says, bring them on down, as the first car comes in. So here's the thing is like this car is filled with the dumbest people. These are dumb Yankees who say they're going to Florida, and I write, they're real,
Of course.
I was like, I can't really judge their smarts, going to Florida.
They fell for the detour side. They belong in Florida.
Yeah, as soon as they said we're on our way to Florida, I'm like, yeah, I bet you are. Again, see, this is why I'm saying, like, partway through the movie, I'm like, yeah, we wouldn't miss these people necessarily.
They don't care who wins here.
So the people in this car, okay, let's just say there's a nondescript couple that are like the brunette couple.
Yeah.
They do nothing except be brown-haired people.
Yeah.
And they just go like, gee golly, what happened?
That's it. What's my motivation? Gee golly, what happened?
The back seat has a guy that I just call Hotshot.
I love this guy.
Because Hotshot is really just, he's the hotshot of this movie. He really thought, here I am, got my sunglasses on. I'm the cool dude. I'm clearly the cool guy in this movie.
20 or so years later, he'd be Duke and Spookies.
Definitely. And his wife, apparently. Is his wife?
Yeah, there's two married couples in the car.
Yeah, so it's his wife, and she's this blonde lady, and apparently the hotshot and his wife don't get along at all.
Happens.
They hate each other.
The bloom's off the rose on that marriage.
So basically, Billy jumps onto their car in the back seat and dangles the noose in front of the blonde lady and goes, nah, 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 nah.
And you know what? Honestly, I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than the people in this movie, but I'm floored at that point.
Turn around and go back.
I don't care how many yokels get in front of my car. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
As this goes on, you have to be a fucking idiot to stay in this
to stick
town.
around at all.
Because as the thing goes on, is like, well, I don't know how it was in 1965, but this ain't flying.
But so they get surrounded by all these joyful townspeople with their stars and bars, Johnny Reb flags waving around, little kids jumping up, and cool guy goes, "Are we under arrest or something?"
Yeah, I was like, what?
Like, what the?
Even Mayor Buckman's like, what the hell are you talking? No.
How do you think the cops work?
I told you, he's a real hot shot, He just gets out of every problem in his life, Bobby. He just puts on those sunglasses and exits the room. That's the way he does it. In a court case, he's the defendant, He just gets up, walks out of the court case like, well, I guess he's innocent. Fuck. So the mayor's like, no, you're smack dab in the middle of Pleasant Valley, and we're waiting on you. There's that weird line where she says something like,
yeah, you're waiting for us.
And he says,
we're not waiting for you, we're waiting on you. And then there's an applause break. The crowd is slayed by this.
Yeah, and I was like, huh. I didn't get that one. I didn't know if maybe you did. I was like, it's not really working.
I got nothing. I was equally confused for that part.
Apparently, as I read, apparently this car of tourists are the guest of honor, okay? And they always celebrate in this town with some Yankees from up north. And now's the centennial, okay? So it's a big year for these people. And celebrate.
And they explain to the carload that you're going to be our guests of honor. We're going to take care of you. Basically, they lure them with the promise of free shit.
Yeah, they're like, look, you're going to have to be here for 2 days. And that's the major. I'd be like, no. And I would be like, goodbye.
I'm on my way to a thing.
Like for example, I just took a trip over the weekend. If somebody was like, no, look, all you got to do is stay here another 2 days, I'd be like, I got to get to work.
Yeah.
Like I have a life.
Like, no one who's in the car driving to a destination is planning on getting there more than 2 days from now.
Well, unless you're some dumb Yankees going to Florida.
Damn these Yankees.
See? That's what I'm talking about. And so basically they take all the girls and the guys out and they're like, woo, it's a party. And they just leave their car running in the middle of the town and just go on in. And then so the other car pulls up with the serial killer Tom and Mrs. Adams. And Mayor Buckman runs over to them. They do a little hip hip hooray.
We start the spiel over.
Yep. And the so Tom goes like, hey, this is the thing, this is when I started to get real suspicious of Tom. Because he's like, well, this all seems normal. Like they're all having a celebration and everything, and we're a part of it. And Mrs. Adams is at first like, I don't know about that, Tom. And he's like, no, it seems fine.
No,
and
Tom
then,
sees an opportunity.
When Mayor Buckman says it's 2 days, he's like, well, fuck that. I mean, I got to get her head in a bag by tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, I am actually on a schedule as a serial killer. Like, I'm running from the police, so we're going to have to get this done sooner. And they're like, no, we can't stay 2 days. And he's like, no, everything's good, man. And then they just basically take the keys and you're good. And at first, none of these people are suspicious. They're like, boy, what nice people. They're putting us up, because he says, we're putting you in the best hotels. We're giving you the best food. We're going to have the best accommodations.
And honestly, I'd be like, okay, so this is a timeshare thing? No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to listen to your presentation.
Which you've told me you're the master of getting out of timeshare presentations and still getting the free stuff.
Good way to get you some baseball tickets, dude. You want to go to Six Flags?
Not that bad.
You got to listen to a guy talk for an hour, and then just say no.
And they fall into your car. They're like, come on, sir.
Just keep saying no. You just got to be strong.
And so
Stronger than these fools, I'll tell you that much.
He says, hey, we're going to start the centennial, okay? Mayor Buckman says it's ready. The next 2 days, they're all going to be guests. Best hotels, that's what I'm writing. 2 days, no.
Absolutely not.
Then he says, hey, look, here are the two guys that run the festival. Now you can trust these guys, Rufus and Lester. Oh, no.
Now, if you see what Rufus and Lester look like, I mean, one of them is basically barefoot in a straw hat.
Okay, yeah, he is a hee-haw character.
Yeah.
Like, Rufus is just a hee-haw character, and Lester
looks like a gravedigger.
Is like a gravedigger that also works in the day as an auto mechanic. Like,
yeah.
Like, he's such a shitty auto mechanic, he has to supplement it with grave digging, you know? These guys are apparently in charge of the celebration, and he's like, yeah, we got our two best guys on it.
That's the deal breaker for me.
Yeah. And that's what Lester said, or I think it's Rufus says, we got us some good uns.
Good uns.
And I was like, yep, time to leave. So then Tom says, hey, you know what? I got to go because I got to get this lady's head in a bag by 11. And also, I'm a school teacher, and I got to get to my school teacher convention in Atlanta with my big important stuff. And that's when I think somebody says, I don't know who it says, but he says, not only is he a school teacher, he's a party pooper.
It's sort of a running gag that not only am I a hitchhiker, but I'm a school teacher. Now, not only am I that, but I'm also a party pooper.
But here's the thing. I didn't know if it was a townie that said that or somebody from the other car. Because I was like, was that Hotshot that said that?
It's hard to tell with some of these scenes.
Yeah. So Lester's like, well, look, you can't leave. And then the mayor tells him, look, it's only 2 days. All right, guys? Come on. Who doesn't have 2 days? It's like, well,
There's
anybody.
A pretty good ADR moment that happens here, too. One of the townspeople comes up and starts speaking, but there's an echo from the place where she recorded the voice. So it's really bizarre when she walks up, and there's this sort of this hollow, far away sound to her voice while she's talking.
Sounds like it's in a tin can or something.
Yeah, like, I think that's a robot. Pretty sure you guys just drove into Westworld.
Oh, maybe. You know, with this town, you never know.
Man, Southworld sucks.
Oh, God.
Just a bunch of hee-haw characters.
So Lester and Rufus, they're talking after everybody leaves because they all go off. They're all going to join the party, right? And they're like, look, we got 6 people. We got it. That's the rules of the Centennial. We can only have 6 people. But then they talk about, like, well, maybe we should get some private guests for ourselves. And Mayor Buckman comes up. He goes, come on now. Tradition.
And the way Lester is presenting that, he's like, I want to have a private Centennial. I was like, is he trying to get the D from Rufus? Like, are these two trying to, like,
Rufus, if we can't find another car.
You know, you really want to celebrate.
Yeah. We do it up right this year. And Mayor Buckman comes over and he's like, come on now. We stick to tradition in this town. 6 people. That's it. Now let's go ahead and get ourselves ready for the big old barbecue tonight.
And man, we're talking about stuff like the barbecue, and these townspeople cannot help but telegraph their plans.
Yeah, they're like,
It's so
we
fucking blatant.
are gonna cook a lady for the barbecue.
Yeah, it's just, well, how to do? We're gonna kill all y'all with kindness.
with your good uns.
Yeah, we got some good ones. We're gonna.
This is the thing. They got some dumb Yankees, and like that's why, as the movie went on, I'm like, they're doing us all a favor.
And we see this a lot in the horror films that we cover, where it's just like you get a character who's so fucking stupid. You're like, you know what? You deserve it at this
I
point.
know they're just 4 idiots going to Florida. Do we really
You will
need them
not
in the
be missed.
world? Like, do we really?
Does Florida need 4 more idiots?
No, I mean they're probably just gonna die in Florida anyways. At least one of them's drowning because they're a fucking idiot, and he's gonna just. Hotshot's obviously gonna drink himself to death in the ocean, and he's gonna go, "Oh, I'm gonna go night swimming because I'm cool," and then he goes out and drowns, and the world isn't at a loss.
Yeah, I just realized that we're taking some shots at Florida. So if we do have any Florida listeners, move.
It's America's Wang. I mean, it really is. So,
In every way.
yeah, I've never been to Florida. I'm sure it's wonderful. You're right. So the guests, they look out their hotel windows, right? And the one couple from a red car, the couple for the red car. So the nondescript brunette couple, I don't even know their names. They're really only in this movie for like 10 minutes. It's not that they die early. It's just that
No one bothered to give them a story arc or characters.
I mean, they don't matter.
They're just the fodders.
But the lady says, such a strange little affair. It's almost like Halloween. And I write, no.
Definitely not.
No, it's not. Halloween in what, Florida? Like, nowhere I've been. Like, nobody's in a costume or anything. What are they talking about? And then here's the weird thing. We cut through this random Dixie couple, which we'll soon learn is the town hunk, Harper,
that's right.
Harper, the town hunk, and Betsy, the town hussy. Okay, so they're a couple, and apparently this is the best they got for seducing the people. But you know what? It works.
Yeah. What was the girl's name?
Betsy.
Because I know Betsy comes up and goes, "You big, handsome Yankee, you." And that's all it took, apparently.
But they just look right down the barrel of the lens after that Halloween line, and they go, "It's better than Halloween," to the camera. And I go, well, that doesn't work on any level. Like, they were in their room with the window closed when they said that, and now they just responded to that line to the audience? I was like, whatever, Herschel.
Just roll with it, man.
And so then there's another one where another couple says that, and the Dixie couple responds back to the camera.
There's a lot of weird lines that I don't understand in this film. At one point, someone says, "Who does he think he is? Stonewall Jackson, razor blade salesman?" I'm like, is this a Dennis Miller joke? What the hell are you talking about?
I believe that was Hot Shot, and he was just doing a little freewheeling. I'm gonna get my Type 5 in. So yeah, then we go to the Hot Shot and blonde lady's room, and they're just talking about how they're all like, "Hey, that guy hit on you. Hey, that woman hit on you," and
they know each other well enough to know that they're both gonna cheat on each other while they're here.
Oh yeah.
And they just it's happened before, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
They're just going through the motions of this marriage.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we're not at a loss. Like, the world will move on, The sun goes up, the sun goes down, Hot Shot dies. Doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter. So then the phone rings, Hot Shot answers, General Grant headquarters.
Oh, this guy. What a card.
And it's Betsy, the town hussy, and she says, "Hey, why don't you come on down? I'm going to show you around town. A little private tour." Yeah, you understand? And he's like, "Oh, yeah, it sounds good."
Oh, he wants to talk to me? I'll be right down.
Yeah. And he thinks he's all being coy about it, and so he hangs up the
turns
phone.
to his wife and he says, "That was the mayor. The Buckman character."
That character from the movie?
Like she wasn't going to know who he meant by the mayor. The guy in the top hat with the sash.
The guy who was told us we had to stay here for 2 days. Don't worry. And she's like, what's he need to talk to you for? And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. Important stuff. I'm not going to go have sex with another woman."
Definitely not doing that.
And she's like, "Are you sure?" "Yeah." And then he just leaves. Then he goes downstairs, and he makes it worse because he just walks up to Betsy, and he's like, hey, why don't you show me where the Lover's Lane is?
Yeah.
Yeah? We'll go fuck.
And meanwhile, Lester, Rufus, Harper are all sitting around in the lobby. Harper's in the back reading a comic book, but Lester and Rufus are like inches from them and just going.
Oh, by the way, before he leaves the room, he says another little Type 5 joke to his wife as he goes, because she's getting suspicious, and he goes, well, who the hell are you, J. Edgar Hoover? Zing!
It's more Dennis Miller shit.
Yeah, so that's when he meets Betsy. This is when I go, everybody's falling for everything, and I write, well, they were going to Florida.
Bunch of maroons.
So that's when Harper, the old town hunk...
He finishes his comic book.
Okay, so here's the thing about Harper, right? He's played off like, boy, no lady resists this man, huh?
Yeah, he's just untouchable, this guy.
Yeah. What would you say he looks like? Like just a regular old beer belly...
He looks like the best Pleasant Valley can do.
Yeah, it's.
I get that he'd be the town hunk of some redneck town of only
2,000 people
of 2,000 maniacs.
Yeah, but he is just. Everybody always talks him up like he's the Adonis of this town.
He's not exactly an LA 10, if you catch what I'm saying.
So Harper the hunk calls up the blonde lady, okay, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come on down and I'll give you a tour of the town." She's like, okay, I was looking for an excuse to cheat on my husband. That sounds great. So she comes down, and then they go out into a field and start making out.
Just go right to it.
She says, wow, give me those country boys every time. And then she's like, well, hey, Harper, what do you do besides being a hunk and centennials?
And he responds to her by saying, why don't you feel this knife for a minute?
Yeah, he pulls out a knife.
Like, another big red flag. Like, when you ask him a personal question and he responds by pulling out a knife and going, take a look at this.
Because she goes, what else do you do?
To be fair, he's answering.
And so then this is a really weird scene where she, like, pets a knife, but then he, like, cuts her finger.
Yeah, he wants her to feel how sharp this knife is. Who the fuck goes, a guy you don't know is like, feel how sharp this knife is.
Yeah, put your hand right on it.
And so she does, and it nicks her finger.
And she's like, ah, she's screaming. And he's like, I done told you it was sharp. And then he cuts her fingers off.
And grabs her hand and just takes off her thumb.
And he's like, cut to, she's like bleeding like crazy. And now they're in the mayor's office.
And mayor's, let me take a look at that.
And he's like, holy shit, that's bad. Oh, fuck. And he's like, well, get her on the table. And then they just load her up on a table, and
they hold her down, and then Rufus and Lester come back in with an axe
and take her arm off.
Yeah, holy shit!
By the way, it's a great gore scene where they just cut her arm clean off, and then she just dies. She's just like, eh.
She kind of goes into shock. She's wide-eyed, and she's not quite dead yet, but she's reacting as one would. And this would be super horrifying if it wasn't low-budget 1960s. Gore. Yeah, and that makes it kind of fun.
Yeah, it looks like Dawn of the Dead level of blood, where it's like almost comical in a lot of ways with the super bred, like bright red blood, and
it's cartoonish.
Yeah, so like Gore Girls.
Yeah,
but they got themselves the making of a barbecue, Bobby.
Oh yeah,
everything's ready. Things are looking up for this centennial. We're gonna cook us some Yankees. And here's the thing. They never, hit it. They're just like, we're going to eat you. And she's like, really? Feel how sharp this knife is. She goes, okay. Yeah. You're walking right into it. At some point, it's like, what? If you're too dumb to run away, then have at it. So then Tom comes into Mrs. Adams' room to visit her, and he's like, something's off about this town. And I write, takes one to know one, Tom.
He would know.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, she's like, well, what's wrong? They're treating us like kings. He says, look, do you know what happened 100 years ago? She's like, I bet you're going to tell me because you're a fucking school teacher. Well, let's see if you really are. And he goes, it was the end of the Civil War. And they're like, oh, okay, so this town is celebrating 100 years from the end of the Civil War. And he's like, yeah, but the South lost.
So why would they be celebrating it?
And he goes, yeah, and we're Yankees, so they probably don't like us. And he's like, look, I got to get to Atlanta. I got to get to my real teachers convention in Atlanta that starts in a couple of days. And I write, what? Hold up. I heard earlier, Tom, from you that you needed to get to this school teacher convention because, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late. Now he's like, well, it's in a couple of days. Well, what is it, Tom? Is it a couple of days or is it today?
Well, Mike, this is the point where Tom would slit your throat.
Exactly.
Because you've stumbled across. It's like The Guest. This is when he goes Terminator.
And I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking hitchhiking there, Tom? Why don't you buy a plane ticket? Huh?
I would love it if that's the direction this movie took. I mean, I like the way this movie went as it is, but if people are getting picked off and when it finally comes time for them to come for Tom, he goes, well, and he just pulls out a knife.
Yeah,
and starts wailing on everybody.
I thought he was going to be part of the town. Like,
no, he totally.
He
turns it back on all of them, and they're running for their lives. Though I was also kind of suspicious watching this, expecting that to be the reveal too, that Tom was part of their game.
I kept thinking, I'm like, there's a turn with Tom.
That's why he flagged down a Playboy playmate riding down the highway.
Exactly. Well, it gets weirder because he goes, okay, I'm going to make a phone call to my friend at the teachers convention. My friend. Keep that in mind. He says friend, okay? And then he's like calling up on the phone. And he's all, oh, can I get an outside line? Oh, no, I can't. Can I send a telegram? Oh, no, I can't. And he hangs up and he goes, well, damn, they won't. And by the way, we're not hearing the operator talk. We're just hearing Tom respond to it. I'm like, Keep feeding those lines, Tom. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I'm going to go call my friend on a payphone. Can I have some money or something for the payphone? I'm like, again.
It's textbook.
Mm-hmm. So he goes to this payphone. He's making a call, and he's like, hey, I'd like to talk to my cousin. I go, well, okay. Whoa, Tom. A few seconds ago, he was your friend. Now he's your cousin.
You see, the routine's been thrown off by the car trouble, by this centennial business. He's getting flustered.
I'm like, this shell game's falling apart, man.
Normally he's better, but this is not a normal weekend for Tom.
See, you're catching on the same red flags as I am. Like, at this point, I'm like, I'm more worried about Tom than these townspeople. They said openly they're going to eat me. Tom, you don't know.
See, they show the cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom's playing it close to the vest.
I know to run from them. Tom, though, he's the one that you run, he's going to follow. Tom follows, So he's making a call to Atlanta, and he's like making up all this fake shit on the phone. And he's like, oh, no, my cousin, he's in this hotel. I know he's there. He's there.
The ticket?
Let me talk to the manager. Oh, manager? Oh, my cousin's at the hotel. Wait, what? You mean he's not checked in till tomorrow? Well, sure, could have been in there today. Oh, my God, I'm not really a teacher. And then he just hangs up and walks away. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? And even the scene doesn't even end. They just play like a loud sound. And then he hangs up the phone and walks out. I'm like, okay.
The movie didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we really fucked up this character. So then Mayor Buckman, my favorite, he's laughing to himself at his desk.
This reveal was actually pretty good.
Okay. What's he doing?
Well, he's taken down all the stuff because he was it's revealed that he was the operator that Tom was talking to.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, I'll get that telegram sent. Don't you worry about that, as he's finishing writing it up. And he starts folding it into a paper airplane.
Uh-huh.
And then he sets it on fire and throws it into the fireplace.
Now, you know what's really funny about that? It's an airplane.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I don't want to get into the reveal for the film yet. But there's a real problem here.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So the barbecue has begun. Woohoo! We're having a good time, Bobby. Singing songs. They're turning a spit with a lady's arm on it.
Yeah, and they're singing Rolling in My Sweet Baby's Arms. Why don't you put a little bit of that song in there?
Rolling in my sweet baby's arms. Gonna lay round the shack till the mail train comes back. I'm rolling in my sweet baby's arms.
And now, you know what? I gotta say this. Again, we are not hiding what the true intentions are. Because they don't even cut up that arm they cut off the lady.
That's an issue I have, because we established that some of our other characters that are to be hunted, our cannon fodder, are here at this bonfire.
Again,
they're part of the celebration.
Okay.
They're not singing along. They're still kind of feeling this out. There's a fucking arm on that fire.
Again, they're going to Florida, Bobby. Like, it all comes back to that. No. Like, have you seen Spring Breakers?
Yes. The thing is, for me, I could just be speaking as a fat kid here, but
it looked delicious.
The thing is, if I'm sitting around at one of these celebrations and we're cooking some meat on the fire, I'm going to at least eye that meat for a second. I'm like, what do we got over here? What's cooking? These guys never look at it.
No.
Then you see that it's a human arm and you leave.
Here's the thing. It's not even hiding it. It's
No.
literally bent like a human arm.
It might as well be giving a thumbs up.
It is. It's like basically giving a thumbs up, or like somebody resting their arm on a window like while they're driving. It is clearly an arm. They didn't even try. It's just an arm, by the way. It's nothing else until later they cut back and it's something different.
Yeah.
But at first, it's just an arm on a spit.
So, red flag number 472.
Yeah.
You should be running for your life.
But all the people are just sitting around like, boy, this seems like a good time.
These nice people.
Hey,
I really misjudge these hillbillies.
Hotshot, where's your wife? He goes, I don't fucking care. And he's all hitting on, like, now he's all hanging out with Betsy and everything. And
Oh, they're getting real chummy.
yeah, and she's like, I bet you can't drink this moonshine. And he's like, I'll show you because I'm a hotshot. And then he's down in it, and he's like, argh.
Such easy marks.
Oh,
All of
God.
these guys.
Then the nondescript couple is just sitting in there. And so Mrs. Adams is like towards the back of it, right? And she's like, she goes, what's that on the spit? Like, she's the first person, and like maybe her eyesight isn't that good because she's kind of far away. She's like, it looks really weird on that spit.
Yeah, what kind of meat is that?
She asks Mayor Buckman, and he's like, it's nothing.
Red flag number 473.
Yeah, like, no, don't even look at it.
If you ask what this is and they go, don't worry about it, worry about it.
Yeah. And so then...
Yeah, go into a restaurant, say, hey, what is it? What's in this? And they go say, don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're like, okay, well,
Great. Lap it up.
So basically, like, Lester and Rufus run up. They go, hey, that school teacher serial killer guy, we can't find him. And the mayor's like, what? And so they go off looking for him. And then Tom sneaks up behind Mrs. Adams. And he takes her away from the party. And he's like, hey, I found this plaque. Okay. Which is just a rock with a big plaque on it. And I wrote down exactly what it said. I'm going to read it to you.
Please do.
In April 1865, a group of renegade Union soldiers laid waste to the village of Pleasant Valley and killed and mutilated many of its citizens. This marker is a memorial to the gallant citizens who gave their lives and a testament to the vengeance pledged in their memory. So basically we learn that this whole town was murdered by Union soldiers back in 1865. So
It basically explains the what we're dealing with here.
But here's the best part is that Mrs. Adams goes, what the hell's that mean? Because they're like, well, the audience is dumb, all right?
Yeah.
Like, they're like those people in the red car. So we got to explain it to him. So Tom goes, fuck it, if you can't read, it's a blood ritual. They're after us.
Yeah, it's a great part. He explains, it's a centennial of blood vengeance.
Yeah, they're going to kill us Yankees. And she's like, okay. And then they run off. And I write, sure, Tom, sure. Then the mayor, Lester, and Rufus show up. And they're like, basically, you just got like a couple minutes of them looking around town. And then they're like, yeah, you know what? Fuck this. Let's go back to the barbecue, right? By the way, we're going to eat you when we find you, Tom and that lady. So don't run too far.
I don't know if we're clear about this yet.
We're either going to eat you or we're going to have a fun game, like a double dare game.
Like, you're dying and possibly getting eaten afterwards.
Yeah. But don't worry. You can choose the physical challenge or you can choose the question.
And
Whatever you
I'm
want.
excited for when we get to that stuff because this movie suddenly turns into an episode of Wild and Crazy Kids.
Oh, I kept writing it as like a redneck double dare.
That's absolutely.
And so the barbecue ends with Harper the hunk taking the other couple back to the hotel.
What a hunk.
Right? He goes, hey, I'm here to help you back to your hotel. And they're like, well, what about the hotshot? And he's like, fuck him, right? And they're like, yeah, fuck him.
You know, good point, Harper.
And they're like, what about his wife? And he's like, fuck her too, right? And so, well, he says, no, don't worry. They'll take care of him too. Take care of Hotshot. Don't worry. And so then Lester and Rufus wake up Hotshot and they go, hey, you ever been to a horse race? And he goes, no. And they're like, well, guess what? You're going to be in one. Hey!
And holy shit. So the horse race, you see, they tie each of his limbs to a horse.
Yeah.
And then they slap every one of those horses and let them all take off in opposite directions.
Yes, they draw and quarter them.
Yeah. This is sort of done in the remake of The Hitcher with two semi-trucks.
Yes. By the way, that movie's not that bad. Sean Bean is the
As
Hitcher.
remakes go, it's pretty good.
Oh, you got to love that part when he takes down the helicopter with the handgun. Best part in the whole movie.
I love Sean Bean. And after this happens, You know, it's all very celebratory. And yeah, he gets torn asunder. It is gross. And the townspeople have a weird moment of introspection. Everyone just kind of stands around going, okay, that was kind of fucked up.
It doesn't work though because everybody's cheering. They're like, "Woo!"
Yeah, it really comes out of nowhere, and then everyone just suddenly gets kind of sad about it.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh," and then Lester and Rufus like, "Come on now, this is the centennial. It's been 100 years."
And I have a problem with this. This is a significant point. He's not just saying, you know, "Oh, come on, people, let's keep up the energy," but he says, "You know what happens to anyone who backs out." Now, when we get to the big twist, the Twilight Zone ending of this movie,
Yeah,
how the fuck does that make any sense?
I have
We
no
don't-
idea.
And it's okay, listeners. We're not going to find out because we never revisit this concept.
No,
I'm like, whoa, what? That doesn't make any sense at all once you've finished watching the movie.
you know what, Bobby? Fuck it. I wish I was in Dixie. Just start singing.
And you get to watch these scared townspeople kind of cautiously start singing,
They're like, "Yeah,
you know, foghorn leghorn shit.
better have a good time." That's when they sing "I wish I was in Dixie." And then we go to the next day. So the nondescript couple wakes up.
Yeah, they're woken by, I guess, Mumford and Sons.
So there's just
So this hipster band is hanging out below the window, just, you know, plucking their banjos and singing. It's got to be a good gig for that band. And for all that this is the mid-'60s, these three guys look right out of 2018.
Oh yeah, they'd fit right in.
Like, I
some
saw
sort of coffee
this band
shop
last week in
Yeah.
a coffee shop. It's just three dudes, you know, and they're sort of the Greek chorus of this film. Yeah, they're
like-
the minstrels. They come by to sort of sing what's been going on
they're
so
like,
far in the movie.
We ate your friend and now we're gonna eat you.
For those of us just joining this, yeah, it's
So the lady's like, "What do you think that's about?" And the nondescript guy's like, "I don't know, but I'm starting to feel like they want us to be separated from everybody else." I'm like, yeah,
starting to figure it out, huh?
yeah. Maybe get your car keys, get out of town.
These two are basically like the married couple in Shopping Mall.
Yes.
We don't really do anything with their characters. They're just the married couple who's hanging out, but they start to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. We're probably gonna die soon, but you know.
Which is probably for the best. I got things to do.
Should we go? And they're like, "Yeah, let's just get out of the town." And so they go downstairs, though. But this is the stupidest thing. Is he's like, we're going to leave town, but we should wait for the hot shot and the blonde lady.
No.
And I'm like, no.
No.
So they go down, and then Lester, Rufus, and the mayor, they're talking about how well the horse race went. They're like, "Did you see when we draw and quartered that guy? That was fucking great. Fuck those Northerners. Am I right?" "Oh, hey, friends of those. How you doing? We got something good planned for you. However, have you seen that fucking school teacher around? I don't like that guy." This is when Mayor Buckman's like, "I don't like his books.
And you
I
know-
like them smarts."
Now, you know why he doesn't like this guy? They can smell their own.
I think so. That's what I
think
was
that
thinking.
fits with our fan theory for this movie. It's like he's like he got a tinge of like, "Oh, you're kind of like me."
Yeah,
you know, he's
Mayor
like,
Buckman's like, "I don't want him wandering around."
you don't put two alphas in the same room, man. They're gonna not like each other.
So that's when the other couple go outside. They see Betsy and Harper, and you know the town hussy and the town hunk, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna take you around town." And they're like, "No," and they're like, "No, too late." And they just separate them. So then we get a shot of the kids throwing out the leftovers from the barbecue in the river.
Fantastic.
That's how we take care of these bodies. Then we go to the guy and Betsy, and she's like, "Hey, why don't you come over to the barrel roll?" And I write, he's being a real bitch about it.
Yeah.
At this point, like, again, you're too stupid. You're so fucking stupid. You didn't notice the arm on the spit, anything like that. You're too dumb. Now he's like, "I don't want to be in a barrel roll." I'm like, well, quit being a fucking bitch and get in the barrel.
Is, like, he hasn't been suspicious enough to
Yeah.
justify that reaction. This
Exactly.
is just him being kind of a brat.
He's being a bitch. I'm
Yeah.
like, get in the fucking barrel.
I'd get in the barrel.
Because here's the thing. There's a bunch of people on the hill, right? And they're like, they had this barrel with a Confederate flag on it. They're like, "No, you're just going to roll down the hill. There's nothing dangerous about it at this point." And he's like, "I don't want to be in a barrel." And he's just being a total bitch. And basically, the mayor like grabs him by the neck and is just like, "You get in the barrel. Quit being a fucking bitch and get in the barrel. All right? we're gonna have some fun. This is our goddamn centennial. We've been 100 fucking years in this town. Just celebrate.
And these people want a barrel roll.
Yeah.
We're going to give them a fucking barrel roll.
And I almost feel like the mayor's like, you know what? We were going to let you have a nice, innocent barrel roll, and we were going to do something else, but now you don't piss me off. And they get him in the barrel.
So they force him into a barrel, which is ridiculous.
And he's still being a bitch about
grown
it.
man with his legs sticking out one side, his arms
Yeah,
sticking out the other, going,
he's-
I don't want to be in this barrel.
Still being a bitch about it. He's like, I don't wanna be
Squirming.
in it. Yeah.
And they explain to him, if you don't stop moving, you're going to get hurt.
And Betsy's like the one holding his hands.
Yeah.
And it's like yeah, so he says, look, stay in the barrel or else it's going to be even worse. And then he goes, look, how about we secure you in with these nails?
And man, this is great. They start hammering these big nails into the barrel so that the business end of the nails are sticking inward.
And then they go, all right, have fun.
They kick him down the hill.
I'll take the physical challenge, Mark.
Oh, man.
And they push him down the hill. And then he's all done.
Yep.
Stabbed to death.
And it's just him screaming as a dummy rolls down the hill in a barrel. I laughed so hard at that.
I would say this is my favorite kill of the whole movie.
It's so
is
great.
The barrel roll.
So great.
And I love the part when he's dead. All right, he's dead. And then Rufus goes, God darn it, if this ain't the best damn centennial ain't everyone ever had.
And I think this is, especially at this point, you and I are completely 100% on board with the people of Pleasant Valley.
Yep, I've agreed with them. And
We
I
don't
say,
like these other characters.
No.
And you guys are being real creative.
Bobby, my next note is they roll this bitch into the lake and get on with the ceremony.
They don't even save him for food.
No, they're like,
They're
fuck
like,
him.
man, fuck this guy.
Like,
I don't even want to eat him.
Bitch meat tastes terrible.
Can we make that a button for the show?
Yeah, so like I loved how they got rid of him. Like, yeah, fuck that guy, right? I almost feel like that wasn't the way they were going to kill him.
No.
They're like, you know what, fuck this.
This was on the fly.
Yeah, they're like, I don't like him. So then we go to Tom.
What's interesting is when we get to the bottom of the hill before they throw him in the lake, like his face is all bloodied.
Yeah,
I'm like, how'd that happen?
yeah, you know.
Like you got punctured a million times by nails to
Like
your
I
midsection.
said, he's
but-
acting like a little bitch. He probably like ducked into the barrel and everything. They told him not to, but he still did it, Bobby. He doesn't listen.
Christ.
So we go to Tom in his hotel room, and there's some guy with a guitar sitting outside of it. He's like, you know, when Tom looks out, he's like, like a little Deliverance style, you know? And he's like, oh, just sitting outside your hotel room, sir. Nothing going on here.
Don't mind me.
And Tom goes back to his room, and he's like, oh, shit. I gotta do my serial killer shit. So then he sneaks out a fucking window, and I'm like, you know, Tom, you're a little too crafty with this shit. Like, you know what you're doing.
It's pretty obvious, Tom.
And he sneaks into Mrs. Adams' room, and she doesn't seem to have any problem with it at first. He's like, oh, there's a guy outside our room. And she's like, she doesn't even say, like, how'd you get in here? Man, you did that really quick. I didn't even hear you. Nothing like that. He's like, here, I got an idea. Also, he comes in carrying a bat. And I'm like, uh-huh.
Not the weapon I've expected.
Yeah.
Thought he'd be more subtle.
So he's like, okay, well, what you do is you distract him and get him in here. So she distracts the guy, gets him in the room, and Tom knocks him out. And I got a little too easy, Tom. And so then they just leave this guy in the room, and they're like, well, let's go find your car, all right? So then we just see Tom and Mrs. Adams running around looking for her car, and Harper spots them outside, and he's like, hold on, let me be the hunk. And he's following them, and they're like, no. And so we just get a lot of running and running and running. And this part, Bobby, so I didn't know that this existed in America, but apparently we got a big problem in the South with quicksand.
You know, if we're going to do the Bugs Bunny gag at the beginning, we're going to do one in the middle of the film, too.
So Mrs. Adams falls into some water, and Tom goes, oh my God, you're in quicksand. And he puts his arms all over her and pulls her out, and I'm like, that wasn't quicksand. I'm like, he's just like, oh, you're going to sink. And he's like using an excuse to grab her or something.
Yeah.
But then Harper falls into it, and it really is quicksand.
And he is consumed by the quicksand.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, well, touche, Tom. I guess you get that one.
That quicksand had itself a snack.
Then, yeah, exactly. They're like, best meal I've had all month. Best meal I've had in 100 years. So Harper gets pulled in by the quicksand. Then just Tom and Mrs. Adams go to a lake, and I don't know what this is. It's like 2 minutes of her showing off her leg to the camera, where it's like, wow, 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 and she's just putting some water on it, and she's like, is that good, Herschel?
This is a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie.
Herschel?
Have we appropriately...
Are we still rolling? Okay.
No, keep going. We'll
Lift
get it.
up. Look, just all right. We're good. And right, it just ends with very, very, very weird music. Then we go to the next event. Okay, the next round of Double Dare.
Oh man, Teeter and Rock.
Okay, is I right? The Piggy Challenge. So like from Lord of the Flies.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They basically have the Piggy Rock sitting on top of this big old thing, right?
Sucks to your ass, Mar Yankee.
It is a giant rock sitting
They
on.
have a boulder on a platform. And
Yeah.
It's like partially off the platform. So hence Teeter and Rock.
Yeah, they call it not just Teeter Rock. They go Old Teeter and Rock.
Old Teeter and Rock.
Now here's the thing: she's being a real jerk. They took a lot of time to set this up. Somebody had to build that stage, and not only did they have to build the stage, they had to get Teeter and Rock up there, which must have been a bitch and a half to lift that thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't see a crane around here. You know,
This is like the Egyptians building the pyramids. How the hell did you
Exactly.
even pull this off?
so they're like, look, we want you to judge this event, okay?
It's real simple.
And don't worry, I'm assuming because you're an idiot, you've never read Lord of the Flies. We want you to just judge, is this rock gonna fall or not? And she's like, I don't wanna. And they're like,
No.
"Wait,
It's real simple.
okay,
We're gonna check in with you, and you're gonna tell me it hasn't fallen yet.
yeah, that's it.
That's all you gotta say.
They're like, look, well, you get the best seat in the house. They go, all you got to do is lay down in front of the platform,
Stare up at this rock.
on this stage we built. Okay, just lay down, stare at the rock.
And then one by one, we're gonna try and knock this rock down, and you just tell us if it's fallen yet.
That's it. Nothing.
And she's like, "What? No, I'm not doing that."
And then Mayor Buckman comes over and goes, you know what? You're gonna
This is just like the
ruin
barrel roll.
fucking thing.
You know how hard we fucking worked on this? Dude,
That's
you
what
know
he
how many
says.
hours we put toward this?
He says, you fucking Rufus and Lester spent days building this platform.
Look at the
okay?
faces.
Get your ass on that fucking platform. The one thing you do, you drive all the way down here. We give you the best room in the best goddamn room
least
in the
you could do.
town.
Least you could do.
We gave you some of that arm meat. That's hard to fucking come by, okay? Not everybody got a piece. Lay down on that fucking ground.
You know who didn't? Lester. Look at him.
Look, we don't even have, we built a fucking platform for you, so you didn't have to lay on the ground. That's how much we care about you. Now lay down on that fucking platform, or we're gonna have to force you. So they just put her down.
We didn't want to have to do it the hard way.
Yeah, and he's like, you know what? You didn't listen.
So they tie her down on the platform.
And he goes, all right, throw them rocks.
And the way this is set up is like a carnival dunk tank. We have a little target set up, and one by one, townspeople throw rocks, and if you hit it, it's going to drop that rock. But most people don't have the aim for it.
No.
So we go. It's very tense, actually, for how silly this is.
I read it's like a piggy dunk tank. Okay, so basically it
Absolutely.
is a dunk tank, but the end is the death from Lord of the Flies. Like you're gonna get the rock in your face.
And that's what happens. You know, a couple people go by, they whiff a few times, they miss. And they make her each time go, it hasn't fallen yet.
And I like the part where she says, when the mayor walks over, he goes, now say your dumb line. Say it.
It hasn't fallen yet.
Thank you. God damn it. Is it that hard? Is it that hard to just be part of the celebration? And see, this is what...
Stage actor, he's being a real diva.
I was like, come on. Get with it, lady. You're too dumb to run away. You got to enjoy it now.
Let me ask you, Mike, and it's probably hard to say, but, let's say you're her.
Well, I would have tried to run away by now.
Right. But you're at a point where it's like, you're getting strapped down.
Let me put am I this dumb? Yeah, I play along.
For me, I don't think it's even I'm this dumb. It's just like, look, man, they've got you.
Yeah.
It's like people talk about, like, if you're going to be executed in one of those videos, it's like, why would you go along with it? I'm like, I don't know. In the case of this, you're done, man. Checkmate.
Yeah, you're dead.
They're gonna kill you. You know?
No matter what.
I think at this point, delirium would take over. I'd be like, it hasn't fallen yet. Everyone's cheering for me.
Yeah, exactly. You might have a
I'd
little
be heckling.
Stockholm
I'd be
syndrome.
like the guy in the dunk tank. I'm
Yeah.
like, you ain't shit. You couldn't hit a bull in the ass with a snow shovel. Oh, you missed that one too? Ha! I'm gonna lay here all day.
Yeah, but she's not playing along. Nobody's having a good time now. And when Rufus finally throws that rock and it hits the target and the rock falls over, everybody's there in a shitty mood. Like, well, that wasn't fun.
It took too long.
And also, she wasn't playing
She really
along.
sucked the life out of this.
God damn it, I didn't have any fun.
Wasn't worth it, man.
I know,
Sorry,
'cause
Lester.
all these old people in the crowd that look like they're just from the town they filmed this movie in.
It's so
Are
great.
just like, Oh, man.
This is one of those scenes where you see these old, these blue hairs in the background, and they're just sitting around, and they're kind of fist pumping a little bit, but they have these looks in their faces of like, this is fucked up.
Yeah, they're like,
because there weren't movies like this already at the time.
No.
So while they're filming, they're like, what the hell is this?
And Herschel's just like, come on.
need you to get more excited, please.
So then we go to Tom and Mrs. Adams, and they're still looking for the car. Then they talk to Billy the newsboy, and he's all, what y'all want, Yankees? And Tom's like, hey, Billy, do you want to come to my van? I got some candy. And he's like, oh, hell yeah. And again, he does this a little too easy. It's like he's done this a million times
He
before.
already knew exactly what to say to lure a child.
Yes, he lures this kid in without any effort.
And the thing is, tie it back to the beginning. He knew exactly what to say to lure a beautiful young woman. Into picking him up off the side of the road. And then he knew exactly what to say to lure a child into uncertainty.
Exactly. And Mayor Buckman's onto him. I'm telling you.
Mayor Buckman sees a little bit of himself in him.
He knows. And so he's like, hey, Billy, if you can get me the car keys, there's candy in the car. And I'll give you some candy. And he's like, well, boy, how do I love candy.
This kid's great.
Oh,
Putting
he is.
some of this kid talking.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's phenomenal.
Billy?
Well, Billy, you like candy?
Sure do. Got any?
Why, yes. I got a whole big box for you and the rest of the kids. But I'd like to give it to you first so you can take all you want before the rest of the other kids get it.
Gimme. They ain't getting any.
Well, before we do that, we got to know where it is. And it's in our car. You know where our car is?
Sure do. Down at Lister's garage. Fixing to taking it apart after Centennial's over.
So he agrees to take them to the garage to get some of that sweet, sweet candy.
Oh, yeah.
So we go to the
Special
garage.
episode of Different Strokes.
They find the car, and we just cut. Then we go to Mayor Lester and Rufus. They say they've saved the best for last. They're like, we're going to get that fucking school teacher on our best thing yet. And I'm like, God, I hope we get to see it. I really do.
It's been pretty solid so far.
They've been up in their game every
with the
event.
contraptions.
Because they said we're going to have an axe throwing contest for Tom, which I'm like, I want to see that. Don't tease me.
Give me that axe throwing.
And
don't just tell me about it.
For Mrs. Adams, they have something called the Gauntlet, which I'm like, that's like the fucking end of American Gladiators.
The Eliminator.
Like, I'm ready for this.
Oh, man, she has to run through like a paper wall, and then there's just this giant hillbilly waiting behind the wall.
Or like the Legends of the Hidden Temple, and like when she goes in a room, a hillbilly's going to attack her instead of a temple
I imagine
guard.
the Gauntlet is like an episode of Wipeout. She's just running across a 2x4, and they're just swinging like sandbags at her, throwing rocks.
Yeah, and below is just like a pile of razor blades.
Razor, like Suspiria. There's just a big bed of razor wire.
So we go to the garage. They can't find the keys, and Tom's like, hey, Billy, if you find the keys, I'll let you drive the car. And he's like, oh, boy, I'd love to drive the car. And I do love this part as he goes, Billy, if you go get the keys right now, I'll let you drive the car at 70 miles per hour on the highway. And his response, we're going to play it, but 70 miles an hour? Hot doggy! I love how he does that line. So then basically they drive off. Mayor Rufus and Lester are sort of pissed, but they don't really care. They're like, fuck it.
You know,
here's the crazy part is they're like, ain't nobody gonna believe that stupid Yankee. Everybody knows that guy's a fucking serial killer. He's gonna go to the cops. They're gonna be like, all right, really? How many heads you got in your trunk?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they actually say the line, they'll get thrown in the loony bin anyway.
Yeah. Oh, they will. And so they're like, nah, don't worry about it. Fuck it. And then they say something about like, but they took Billy. And he says, well, I sort of have a nasty feeling he'll be back.
Well, before he said that, he goes, I kind of hope they keep him.
Yeah.
Like, that annoying little shit.
He's killing all the town cats, So, so then we get
Mayor Buckman's a cat person.
We get in a real slow car chase.
Oh yeah,
this is just Tom and Mrs. Adams driving down a dirt road as a truck follows them.
I mean, honestly, OJ and the Bronco was more exciting.
Oh yeah, so they get to a stick, and Tom moves it, and then he throws Billy out of the car.
I love that part. It's just he so casually removes Billy from the car, and then they just takes off. Like, fuck you, Billy.
And Billy's like, "Damn Yankees!
No shit!
He's like, I didn't even get my damn candy." So then we go to a police station. And
so
Tom,
they made it out.
Yeah, and he's like trying to tell this police chief, he's like, look.
And by the way, that is ballsy of Tom. Like, you're walking into a police
Yeah,
station,
Tom,
Tom. They've been
come
looking
on.
for you, dude.
Well, hiding in plain sight, you know.
Yeah, they never suspect the guy who walks in with a problem.
Like, nobody expected the BTK killer to be that guy who was the homeowners association guy and the Boy Scout guy, you know. Why would he kill the kids? Never. And so Tom's like, look, there's a whole town where they're killing people. It's 20 miles down the road. And the cop's like, ain't never heard of it. He's like, Pleasant Valley? What the fuck are you talking about? He's like, it's down the road. You turn off and there's a fucking a town in there and everything.
And the sheriff's like, all right, before we go any further, I would like you both to take a breathalyzer test.
Yeah, and Tom's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, do it, chief. Like, there's something wrong with him.
And so we leave for a moment so they can do a breathalyzer because I guess they couldn't get access to one. So we go back to the town and we got Lester and
Rufus.
I
And they're like, you know what?
Name. Lester and Roof.
They're like, it wasn't a bad centennial.
We have a little conversation about it. They're like, yeah, you know, we got 4 out of 6, and 4 out of 6 ain't bad.
No. And that's when Billy walks up and he's like, I didn't even get my damn candy. And I'm gonna go catch a cat and have some fun.
Where's he keep finding these cats?
And so then the police, so the chief is now at the road with Tom and Mrs. Adams, and they're like, there was a road here.
And this is where the chief, who was saying, like, I don't know what you're talking about, suddenly levels with him.
He's like,
he goes, all right, look, there was a Pleasant Valley. It was 100 years ago. And he starts explaining what we've already had told to us twice.
If you didn't read, if you're on your way to Florida and you don't know how to read, you may have not read the plaque, but he's going to read it out for you, basically. And so basically he's like, yeah, that, this town, they all got murdered by Union soldiers. There's no Pleasant Valley, though. It doesn't exist.
So the sheriff takes a moment to go, they were ghosts the whole time.
Yeah, he's like, audience, do you see?
Did you pick up on this?
And Tom's like, but here's our tire track. And
it's interesting they found tire tracks that don't lead down a road.
No.
And so it's something that couldn't possibly have happened.
I'm writing just leave in my notes at this point. Just fucking go.
Chalk it up to a bad dream, man.
Fucking go to your fake teacher convention,
You got
Tom.
some murdering to do yourself. You need to go get your head right because I know you're off now.
Like, I've heard of long cons, but come on, Tom.
And
let's go.
Just to be sure, just to really hammer that nail into the barrel, they show the plaque while we're talking about the tire tracks, and the plaque disappears.
Yeah.
It fades away.
Yeah, but when they're walking around a field and they can't find the town and everything, and so, yeah.
And the sheriff's just like, just go on now.
Then we just
like, you don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, he's like, fuck it, just go, all right? I already know, Tom, that you're wanted in other states, all right? Not this state yet, but just get the fuck out of here, all right? So they go to the state line, and Tom breathes a sigh of relief because he's like, whew. Got out of there alive. And he goes to Mrs. Adams. He's like, all right, well, guess I'll get my stuff and go to my fake teacher convention. And she's like, where are you going? He's like, yeah, come on, pop the trunk. I'll get my bag of heads and I'll be on my way. She's like, come on, get back in the car and drive to Atlanta. Apparently I don't have anything to do.
Is this like a natural born killers thing?
Yeah. She's like,
she's with him now?
Yeah, fuck it. Like, where was she going?
Apparently she had nowhere to go.
Again, 1965, nobody has anywhere to go. Again, though, see, this is the thing. All these unemployed serial killers and idiots, Pleasant Valley's doing us a favor, Bobby.
Here, let's add to our subplot we're working on here. She's also a killer.
Yeah,
she
that's
picks up
like,
hitchhikers.
A little double turn.
And so that's the two of them. They haven't. This is sort of a, if you like, pina colada situation where they're like, wait a minute, you were gonna kill me? I was gonna kill you.
Oh my god! And then, yeah, it becomes a natural born killer. So they're like, we should just go kill everybody.
When he put his bag in the trunk, he saw her bag. He's like, oh,
you know what? We should go down to Florida. I hear there's a lot of idiots down there.
And you know what? Not to armchair quarterback old Herschel, because he clearly knew what he was doing. That's the follow-up movie.
Yeah.
These two on a killing spree in the next town.
And then just luring kids in by going, we got candy in our car.
For real, though, how cool would that shit be? Like the two survivors of the crazy horror film, there's a reveal at the very end, and then part 2 is a different story of them being the killers.
Oh, I'm liking this.
I really like that idea.
But this
Go ahead and
is
steal
like,
that, listeners.
Is when she says she wants him to get in the car to drive to the convention. I'm like, it's real awkward when they don't get to that convention because it doesn't exist.
It's like,
it's not there.
Hey, it said you got to keep going straight to Atlanta. How come we got off the freeway? Oh, you.
So then we just cut to Rufus and Lester in the field.
I like this part where they start discussing. He's like, what's it going to be like in another 100 years when we come back in 2065?
And they're like, there's going to be rocket ships and shit and Main
And they're getting
Street.
excited about the idea. It's like, maybe we can get one of them rocket ships and chase all them Yankees. This is like a Blade Runner 2049. 2000 Maniacs 2065. Or would it be 2065 Maniacs?
Oh, I like that.
Hey. I like the idea of Rufus and Lester with like drones. just shooting at people.
And so basically that they say, hey, Harper, wake up. You got to come back.
And Harper comes up out of the puddle.
Just so again, it wasn't quicksand at all.
Yeah. And
Tom,
then they make
devil.
a gag about Harper being the dumbest one of all of them.
Yeah. Boy, he sure is dumb.
Because he sank into quicksand and just stood there.
He's a handsome dumb man, isn't he?
Man, when his looks go.
And that's it.
And they
the
fade
fog
into
machine,
the fog, man.
Yeah. Herschel rented out that fog machine for the hour, and they pumped it on into the set and end this movie.
So, recommendations, Mike?
Yeah, if you like Herschel Gordon Lewis movies, definitely. If you don't, you're not going to like this one.
I'd say if you're unfamiliar with Herschel Gordon Lewis and you haven't watched any of his films, this is a great one to start on.
Yeah, this would be the test, I'd say.
Like, I know Blood Feast was the one where he made his name, but this has sort of perfected what he started with Blood Feast.
Yeah, if you can't get through this, then no, don't watch any of his other movies.
This is one of his best movies.
This or
which is saying something.
Gore Girls, which is also very good, I'd say.
Yeah.
If
Wizard's
you don't like
pretty good
either of
too.
these,
Wizard of Gore is not
Wizard
bad.
of Gore. But if you don't like either of those, then it's not going to happen.
The thing about old HGL is he's definitely not for everyone.
No.
It's an acquired taste even. I know the first time I watched a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie, I was like, I don't know about this. But this one I had a blast watching.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I would say to describe him to somebody who's never seen one of his movies, he is like John Waters, but of gore movies. So John Waters would do trashy, like comedies, I'd guess, and gross out stuff.
Yeah.
Just add some gore to it, and you got a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie. It's the same type of wacky, weird characters and nonsensical stuff. It's very close to like Female Trouble or Pink Flamingos style movies.
Definitely. And I'd argue you probably wouldn't even have a John Waters if it wasn't for Herschel.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was a fan.
Because he clearly grew up on that stuff.
Yeah. So, Bobby, you hear that sound?
Oh, boy.
How do you think Bobby and DeVito fit in the world of 2000 Maniacs? I think we all know how it starts.
Well, we never saw what the gauntlet was.
Oh, no.
I feel like there's another platform that a person is to be strapped down on, but this time it's a waterbed. And instead of a teetering rock, we have the straight arrow. And it's got the door open. Now, the straight arrow is not going to fall off the platform, but something is going to fall out of the straight arrow and land on that waterbed. And you just have DeVito on the ground throwing rocks, but he's got terrible aim, and Bobby's getting impatient.
Look, I feel like at the end of the van, we could say, the obvious one is they go into the town and everything, and, it's, But here's something to think about. At the end of the van, okay, when that van flips and everything like that, and everybody's at the end, the cops go, what van? As it just disappeared.
Oh.
Right? And there's a little plaque. And the plaque says that every so often there was this ghost van that would ride down Malibu playing its song. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And you'd hear Sammy Johns coming out the window. And he would pick up women, and they'd never be seen again. And it's revealed that Bobby and DeVito, much like the town of Pleasant Valley, just a pair of ghosts,
Man.
just looking for one more waterbed play.
Two maniacs.
Yeah. Two maniacs in Malibu.
And his South's gonna rise again.
Oh yeah.
Yeehaw.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hey Bobby, the South's gonna rise again. Hey. And then just the last thing here is, you in the star. As he's like a Pepper's Ghost illusion. That would be great. Like you're going through the haunted mansion and you see the straight arrow in one of the rooms.
It's like getting the Hitchhiking Ghost.
Yeah.
Only instead of a Hitchhiking Ghost, you get VD.
Yeah, you just see somebody like standing in your cart, Like, why isn't I seeing a man's pants? Oh my God! So thank you for joining us on another episode of the Grindbin. You can find us at grindhousefilm.com. We're Twitter at GrindPod. We're on Instagram, Facebook, the Grindbin Podcast.
Everywhere fine podcasts are sold.
Yep. And you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/Grindbin, for our bonus episodes, 2 bonus episodes every month, where we just did one recently on the new Monkeys, and we have another one coming out this month. We haven't recorded it yet, so I don't know what it is, but it will be something fun.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The
all
best
I can
one we've
say
done
is
yet.
Best one yet. Yeah, and you can check out our full bonus episode on there, which is Beverly Hills Vamp, the Eddie Dees in it, Fred
Honestly,
Olin Ray
one of our
classic.
funnest episodes.
Do you realize how crazy this fucking is that we've done 3 Fred Olin Ray movies on this podcast?
I'm beside myself.
We've only done 2 Herschel Gordon Lewis movies.
We need to fix this. We need
For
to
fuck's sake,
counterbalance.
he is tied with Howard Avedis in most Bin movies, which I think is a problem. No, hold on. And J. Lee Thompson. Who's going to take the cake? You know, who's going to be the one that survives?
This teeter and rock, Fred Olin Ray. He hasn't fallen yet.
Boy, I'd like to put Fred Olin Ray under Teeter and Rock. Is it fallen yet, Fred? Huh?
Honestly, it creates an interesting question. Like, who is the sworn enemy of the Grindbin? Who's the villain of the show? Is it Deason or is it Fred Olin Ray?
Oh.
You know, behind Vader was Palpatine.
You know, I think that's a very good point, Bobby.
Who's the real villain?
I think
here?
like we've been really, trashing Eddie Deason.
We've been
for
very
so
hard
long.
on Deason, and for all intents and purposes, he seems like a nice guy.
But after Fred Olin Ray unleashed Demon Cop onto the world and took his fucking name off of it,
like that is unforgivable. If you haven't heard the Demon Cop episode, go back and listen to it. It is.
Oh boy,
it broke us.
Yeah. Thanks for nothing, Fred.
Seriously.
Still thinking about that one.
Jesus Christ, Fred. Once again, I want to thank our friends at Arrow for sending us a copy of this.
Yes, MVD, which is the American distributor for Arrow Video.
Check out arrowvideo.com, and honestly, you can get Arrow Video movies mostly anywhere.
Yeah, full
Anywhere you
disclosure,
shop for
we were
Blu-rays.
provided this video by them, so thank you very much. We have a few more that they sent us as well. We'll be doing a couple episodes on them. You also see our reviews for the other ones that don't really fit as bin movies, but we're going to have them on the website, reviews of the Blu-rays and the movies themselves. Bobby, you got one coming up.
I do. It should already be up on the website by now. Death Smiles on a Murderer, this awesome Gothic Giallo hybrid starring Klaus goddamn Kinski. Hell of a film. And I reviewed it on the website. Go ahead and check that out.
I'm looking forward to watching that one. So, yeah, and they got all sorts of releases. So thank you again for sending us this movie. And as we always said, the Grindbin can be bought. So this episode is brought to you by them. So thank you very much.
A story you should know from 100 years ago, and 100 years we've waited now to tell. Now the Yankees come along, and they'll listen to this song, and they'll quake in fear to hear this rebel yell.
And they'll quake in fear to hear this rebel yell. Yeah! Oh, the South's gonna rise again. Yeah! Oh, the South's gonna rise again.
Robert E. Lee broke his musket on his knee, and 1,000 pieces shattered on the ground. But he looked up then, and he gathered up his men, and from his lips there came an awful sound.
And from his lips there came an awful sound. Yeah! Oh, the South's gonna rise again. Yeah! Oh, the South's gonna rise again.
Stonewall took a gun and he made the Yankees run, but he took a fatal bullet in the chest. As he fell down dead, old Stonewall said, I'm a-giving you a dying man's request.
I'm a-giving you a dying man's request. Yeah! Oh, the South's gonna rise again. Yeah! Oh, the South's gonna rise again.
Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Dad, I made the team. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
Spooky ain't got no real